Before we begin today's video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, click on the bell, and change it to all settings. Got the deer up in the tripod now. You can see what I was talking about with using the T-handle there as a gimbal. Same technique I used to hang my gear bag and everything else. Bowline on one end, marlin spike hitch on the other with the T-handle through it, and then through the ligaments of the animal's hind legs. Alright guys, we're going to set to work on this deer now. Now basically all we're going to be doing is deboning it, taking the blocks, putting them somewhere to keep cool and stuff till we can go home and put them in the freezer. Now there are plenty ways to do this. Obviously the way I'm going to do is the way that I know. It was taught to me by a neighbor friend of mine. So let's get to it. First of all, when I do my wild game, I get rid of all the fat possible. For this, we're using the Cold Steel Bushman. Again, when I go out, I use the same knife for everything. So all that was is a great big strip of fat. Takes a little bit of carving, but you'll be thankful that you did it. You can see now, when you look at your meat, if it'll turn, it's nice and clean. So when I do this, I find this ankle bone right here, right there. Stick your knife in and just follow along the knuckle all the way till you hit the leg bone. Then just follow along the leg bone all the way down till you hit the knuckle. Then you just keep working your blade down and remove that in one block of meat. So then that is what you were left with, one block. From this point now we set it on the cutting table and we just kind of clean it up. So now that that block's off, we go back to the knuckle where we started, and this time we go the opposite way. Go into the knuckle, up, around, down, right around to the knuckle on the other side, making sure we cut right to the bone. Then we just got to follow along that leg bone on either side. And once we've got that carved around, you go from here up to the tailbone, just like that. Now this part can get a little bit tricky and unclean. You got to be very careful because you're cutting along the hip bone, or the pelvic bone, I should say. And you take off that big block. When you open it up, you can see it's got the membranes. That's where you divide into your different roasts. But that again, that all happens on the processing table. I'm going to clean up inside here and remove the tenderloins. If this was a survival situation, obviously you would save all the internal fat and stuff. That'd be very good to render down, make into lard, stuff like that. Alright. So now we've got those 2 blocks of meat squared away. Again, I'm going to try to remove this fat. Sometimes it's easier to do this stuff while it's hanging as opposed to on the table. My buddy Owl Cabin, who makes all this stuff look easy, he's probably laughing at me right now. So now, what I try to do, and I've never been good at this part, but you try to find the edge of the spine, and you just cut along it. All the way down. You can go right into the neck if you want. Now, I removed the front shoulder. That's all there is to that. Big stick we used to prop open the body cavity last night. I'll remove the second tenderloin since I'm over on this side. So there that is. I know it looks really dark, but that's, keep in mind that's because we had it on the smoke all night. So consider it smoked meat at this point. What you've got to do is try to get in there at the perfect angle and follow along for the ribs. And like I said, I've never been any good at this part. See, this is what I meant by I'm not good. See how much I missed here? But that's your back strap. You guys have seen me eat lots of these out in the woods. This is a smaller deer too, so the cuts don't seem massive. Well, that's basically it. That's your quarter of a deer. This part you don't want to do till the end because it's still suspending the weight of the animal, but you take your back haunches here, you salvage those, and then strips in between your rib meat. But I don't know if you guys, there's not much point having you guys watch me do that. I mean, it's just literally cutting in between the rib cages, right? And we generally use that stuff for like hamburger, sausages, stuff like that where you can kind of hide it. You got to be very careful with it because it's so full of fat. A lot of people really do not like it. Oh, I'm not going to go any farther with the filming. you basically got the gist of it. That's one half of the deer. The parts I didn't do, I told you why I didn't do them or when that I would do them. Now we're gonna just shut the camera off and get this done. Alright guys, that's it. That's all that's left. We're gonna dispose of the carcass now in a spot where we can go back and utilize the bones at our convenience. Good stuff.